on. Okay. Preparing the live stream server. Got it. Setting up for the live stream. Hold on. All right, we're live. To all 1,750 subscribers on YouTube. May I please not say any bad words on YouTube? No, we're down to no strikes, and we're so I can't talk about the V and all that stuff like I can, but we're doing this live, and then we also pre-record each question individually, and then we post them to hisadvocates.org. First question, here we go. I'm going to record locally. I have received passports for me and my children. This is somebody who's gone through our program. And a year ago, under the state citizen application from HISadvocates, as of today, the school will not be allowing my youngest to attend kindergarten on Monday going forward, due to a non-compliance with vaccine schedule Calif CB 277. And they are no longer accepting medical exemptions drafted before 2020, which we have. So to answer your question, let me just stop right there. I have a doctor you can go to and get a medical exemption right now. He's a medical doctor. He's not a chiro, he's a full medical doctor. I'm not going to quote his pricing or what he does. I'm not sure how that works, but we've gotten people medical exemptions and they get right back into class. Number one. Number two, let's get real here. When it comes to public schools, this is the stuff we're hearing. You got to read the paperwork before you sign. And even when you sign paperwork and you reserve all your rights or you cross things out that you don't agree with, A, your kid might not get into school. B, you are entering into a public school. This is no longer a private situation. Chat's not disabled, Rob. Everybody can do it. It's no longer a private situation. So you could be, one of those stories that you hear from parents where the kids are being brought into a medical examiner's room and they're being vaccinated. So that's the future of public schools. That's the future of a public school contract. And I would never have a kid in public school. However, if you're going to do it, make sure you protect your kid. You have private conversations with the teacher. Any teacher, whatever, pokes your kid, it's on like Donkey Kong. You got to figure out where that is in their contract. You got to figure out what they're planning for the year. You got to make sure that they are not going to be doing this with your kids, because that's the future of public school systems, just FYI. Okay. Next question. I have an S Corp. I'm looking to move assets to my foundation. My CPA is telling me that I will need to claim the fair market value of assets as income when pulling them out. Can I transfer them tax exempt for giving them to a charitable foundation, or would that be giving jurisdiction? No. Great question. Tell your CPA to go pound sand. CPAs are designed to give anything that comes into your personal bank account or into your life as income, and it's not. People are voluntarily giving things away as income and posting things that are not income as income, because there is a cost to something. There is an expense over on the other. There's always a left and right side of an accounting ledger. Okay, so do exactly what you just said. You're going to make a single donation. You're going to give a donation receipt for all the assets to the private foundation. You're not just going to not have the income on the balance sheet. You're going to have a write-off. Boom. And for the non-recorded version, boom chakalaka.
The chats are still not on, Kelby.
It says, Tracy.
Well, it ain't.
Tracy, you know what? I did it wrong. Please forgive me. I'm looking at it. I did it wrong. Okay, Rob. I did the blue thing. I didn't do the dots. I know nobody understands that. That's all right. There we go. And if you guys have questions, go ahead and get them posted into the Q&A over on the left. It's a button down on the bottom left, and we'll get addressing your questions. Tomorrow night, FYI, VIP show for VIP members on hisadvocates.org. It's unusually on Thursday, and it's going to be the following Monday, a week from Monday. And Again, if you're just now listening, we've been off on HISadvocates.tv since the beginning part of November, maybe even late October. We're not turning it back on until March. We're going to have a completed website. We're going to have testing done, and we're going to make sure the next time we go live, the app works, the site works, the Roku, Amazon, Apple. We're on Apple now, if you didn't know. All go live, and we're working on trying to get single switches or single live feeds so that we don't need to create one every single time for Rumble, for BitChute, and we already have a single one for YouTube. So we're going to be using different restreaming services to get out there on a massive deployment, if you will, like the U.S. military, only on social media and only for state citizenship. But I just don't want to do it wrong this time, because the last couple of times we've tried to go live, we didn't have it right. We looked like goofballs, and it really wasn't anybody's fault except lack of knowledge. And that is what it is. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Next question. Is there anything within current LLC business that could not be picked up within the foundation, including payments coming in or expenses going out? My guess is after some time, the LLC will be closed down when it is no longer doing business, receiving income, or paying expense. Is that correct? That's pretty good. That's pretty correct. Some people do it all right away. Some people hold on to the LLC because there's a license attached. Some people keep the LLC for the public side benefit of having, different accounts, different relationships, being able to accept and pay taxes, meaning sales taxes on products being sold. Now, I got to tell you, all that can be done on the private side, meaning you're not allowed to collect sales tax. And this is why all the online shopping carts do not, give that option to collect sales tax or not. I don't collect sales tax. Why? It's not because I'm a tax protester. I'm not allowed to, as a private church, private foundation, private trust, private PMA, private any of that. You're not allowed to. Simply, it's not. There's no protesting of anything. It's just, let's get logical here. Is that kind of an entity can't have a relationship with a corporation, so they don't. It can own anything. You can have anything in the name of a private trust, private foundation. You can transfer anything, you can sell anything. And from a biblical perspective standpoint, everything in this world belongs to Yeshua, meaning Jesus, who died on the cross, and he bought everything on this earth. So from a biblical perspective, because a lot of Christians think about that stuff and are concerned about that stuff, perspective, it's 100%. You can do anything you want. The business of church is anything except pornography. You make your own list, but you understand what I'm saying. So it's it is a correct statement. Some people do it right away, some people do it over a period of time, but I don't know if you heard one of the previous questions. One of the best things to do is just donate all your stuff to the foundation, get a statement from the foundation giving X amount as to a value to yourself or to the LLC, and then take that deduction on the LLC or your personal side. There's no reason why you can't. Would an enrolled agent be able to understand the foundation structure with in regards to making a personal donation to the foundation all the time? Accountants, enrolled agents, CPAs, they all get it. And look, we don't say that we fall under anything within the IRS code. References to look at 501A, 508C1A, different things like that. But also when you're looking at the words on the IRS website, like the word private foundations, like 2 words, that doesn't necessarily mean unregistered private foundation. So we often make an assumption that they're speaking about the same words and word play that we are speaking about within respect to the creation of a set of documents in the private side. So an unregistered anything is completely out of the jurisdiction of the IRS. An unregistered anything is completely out of the jurisdiction of the IRS. You will never see SSM or those types of words on a on an indictment or a warrant because there is no jurisdiction over it. They will say, and other entities, blah, 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 but they will never name them because they're not registered with the Secretary of State. They're not registered with the local county recorders doing business as, or what have you. So you don't have to worry necessarily about what kind of an entity the IRS exemption that we're falling under. Like I said, 508c1a. That is a private church, private foundation, private trust, if you will. And this is why we as a ministry, we get you to write a statement of faith. If you can't write a statement of faith because you don't have faith, that's not my problem. We do a private trust for you. But I do want the people that don't believe in God to first understand that, you did not go from the goo to the zoo to you. So that's asinine to think that there is none. That's just my opinion. And if you're going to be involved in this ministry or being part of it, you're going to understand just how much God is involved in man's law and just how much God is involved in the Declaration of Independence and just what a State of the Union citizen actually means. It means you are a child of God, free from man's jurisdiction, and saying God is king. He's sovereign. He is the ruler of this nation. He is the ruler of this world, because that's what the Declaration of Independence says. So off topic a little bit, but I want you to get used to when you're coming into this ministry and getting your head wrapped around, what do you have as a state citizen? It's the protections of God. It's the protections of law. Realizing that you are direct under God and you're self-governed and they can't do anything about it. So we ask people for a statement of faith, and we create private churches, and they're unregistered churches. They don't fall under 508c1a, but if somebody wanted to be able to do a drop down on a bank account and say what kind of structure this was, that's what you put. You need to put private membership association. You don't put tax exempt. You don't put 501c3. You don't put nonprofit. It's just exempt. Okay. So the terms and the terminology would not be exempt. It'd be private membership association. When you're applying for accounts, bank accounts, trading accounts, whatever, maybe it might be a private trust under a trading account or whatever. But to answer your direct question, all enrolled agents, CPAs, accountants, they know it's nothing more than you on the private side making a donation receipt for your registered organization on the public side, meaning your all caps name you. And that's an important thing to understand. So it's get used to that, understand that we have these benefits. They created these systems for themselves. We're just piggybacking on what God's allowed for us to do, number one, and there's systems that acknowledge what God's allowed to do and what God did on the cross, and what we're able to do through these private foundations, which is make anything and everything belong to Yeshua, where we are the fiduciary and the trustee, if you will, or the executive director, if you will, and Yeshua is the beneficiary. God is the grantor. Really, that's what a church is. That's what a foundation is. Own nothing, control everything. We can't claim things here on this earth, and that's why we fail for lack of knowledge. Is we're saying I own it. I'm putting it in my registered organization name, my birth certificate name, and we think that's us. Let me explain one thing to you. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna explain the birth certificate. One of the biggest things that people need to understand about the birth certificate, it is a fact in law. It is not you. A fact. It is literally under Uniform Commercial Code 9, a registered organization, a corporation. It's an ins legis trust, bunch of different names. Okay. It's how the United States corporation is able to conduct business with you. Now go look up the words persona, go look up the words identity, and get your mind wrapped around what you're doing. Identity, where two or more things are operating as one. You and the BC are operating as one. There's this thing called holding the office, meaning I got a job. That's what it is. The United States citizen is the birth certificate. And what they did is they took all Americans, people, God-given, unalienable rights people, and they gave them a contract to become an employee, get a social security number after they purposely crashed the economy while the major bankers were down the street watching everybody jump out of the two-story window in 1929, and they were hitting the streets and dying. He was waiting for it to get down to 5 cents on the dollar, and then he bought it all. Okay. That's literally what happened. Literally what happened. And so in the next 3 or 4 years, we went through a major recession, and then we got a new deal. They bankrupted the United States Corporation. This is all fact and law, HJR 192. And then they created the Social Security Administrative Act, and they gave people an opportunity to have a job and give them an employment ID number called a Social Security number. Okay, Social Security. Now, this is important to get our mind wrapped around, because there's a Supreme Court ruling, Rundle versus Delaware. A corporation cannot do business with a living man. Now, listen to me. This is why I know in court, and you go through the process of understanding our docs that we've created, and our docs explain it all. When you go into court and they say there's no such thing as a straw man, or you're a trustee of the trust, you're the beneficial interest of the registered organization, you're playing court games and the judge is playing back and forth with you. I don't recommend doing that at all. There's other ways to accomplish things, and it's by coming out and being private and being a state citizen and not even having to deal with that kind of stuff. We do this for the big game. We do this for the forced vaccinations. We do this for the forced chips that are coming. We do this for the whatever. And, I hope that's not a mark on my YT account that I just said. But anyway, so we do this for that reason. And it's very important for people to get their minds wrapped around that those things are plausible in the future. And some people want that and some people don't. And the people that are coming to us don't. And so that's why we do this. It's a matter of understanding who you are, and that when you differentiate yourself from the BC, you mean I quit the corporation. Title 28, subsection 3002, the United States is a corporation. The United States' exclusive jurisdiction is in the District of Columbia. 9 USC 307H, 9 USC 307H. So what does that make the rest of America, the 50 continental states, if the United States exclusive jurisdiction is in the District of Columbia? And guess where the exclusive jurisdiction of your birth certificate rides? It's held at the Securities and Exchange Commission in Washington, D.C. Guess where your governor's office is? In Washington, D.C. Okay. Everything that the states have done is they've given jurisdiction over federal buildings, over public schools, over airports, both small and large. They've given jurisdiction over a lot of different things, because the federal government was giving loans and grants to the airports, this, that, and the other. Now they've taken them over with Homeland Security, changed the processes. This is how they get everybody, is travel. They make you agree to being an office holder of the person on your driver's license, office holder of the person on your Social Security, office holder of the person on the IRS docs. You become a taxpayer. You become a United States citizen, meaning because you're holding that office. What is the office? The office is called U.S. citizen. That's the office position. It's got policies and procedures. It's got statutes and codes. And it's got a whole policy and procedural force, police force that engages you and enforces the policy. Where do they gain jurisdiction? Your driver's license. Why? Because you took this piece of paper known as a birth certificate that they own, that has exclusive jurisdiction in DC, and you said, I want a job. I want to be a U.S. citizen. Literally, that's what you're saying. And you do it right on the birth certificate application, the live born record application. You do it on your driver's license. You do it on your IRS docs. You do it on your SSA docs. You do it on everything. And so that office position known as U.S. citizen is something you're holding dear to, like it's the same as being a citizen of the United States of America. And here's the best way to put the United States, because states means people, we the people. That's literally the sovereignty of the king passed to the states, Supreme Court ruling. The state, that people think, is an organization, it's a corporation. No, the state is the people. Look it up in Black's Law, lowercase definition of state, body of people. Look at the capital letter definition of state, community of persons, artificial persons. Do you know in their statute codes and ordinances, you'll never see the word man or woman? Never see the word man or woman. What does that mean to you? Well, it means that everything is over only that office position the U.S. citizen, the birth certificate. And if you knew how to handle the birth certificate and you knew how to handle yourself in court, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. We don't teach all that. We do enforcement though. And the reason why we don't teach that is because the variables that can happen with law enforcement, the variables that can happen with judges. Nevertheless, it's something that is needed to know. And I encourage people to go and investigate what they can do to help themselves in the event of. But look, this isn't for tickets. This is for forced things. This is for a train ride down the road. You know what I mean? This is why we do this, is we want our freedom under God. It's something that's our God-given unalienable rights. We live in the greatest nation on earth. And yes, this nation is being flushed down fast by different interests, and they're both on the Republican and the Democratic side. And it's disgusting to watch what is happening right now. And there's 350 million people, and we're all fighting over gender and identity and gay versus straight, black versus white, GMO versus organic, you name it, we're fighting. Police, black people, police, Mexicans, border crisis, this, border crisis, that. You can't deal with 1,000 people at the top. Really? They're keeping us busy. Okay. We're the Romans reincarnated, if you will. And literally, if you take a look at what a Roman fasci symbol is, that's on both sides of our Congress, and their symbols. It's very important to understand. They expose themselves as to who they hold allegiances to. And this is a big thing. Yeah, this is recorded and it will be available probably tomorrow on hisadvocates.org. And it's also right now going to be available on youtube.com/hisadvocates. I think just type His Advocates on YouTube, you'll find us. Q&A is over. Q&A is over. I got all the questions answered. We only have 4 participants on here. How come it's not showing them? That's interesting. Doesn't show them right now. Tracy, do you see them on there?
Yes, I see.
Huh.
3 participants because 1 is Rob.
Oh, you're saying Rob is not a participant?
No, he's not.
He's a white vegetarian. Is that it, Tracy?
No, he's his advocate.
He's a vegan. You don't like vegans, Tracy?
He's HISA.
Racist, homophobic, vegan phobic, white phobic.
Straight white male. Yeah. That's the new enemy of America, straight white male.
Is it? Is it? That's me.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. I prefer, you may refer to me as stud muffin. Everybody has these pronouns. What is a good pronoun for me, Trace? I want to get on the bandwagon. I want a pronoun bandwagon.
I have no idea.
I don't either. I do know. Yeah, good thing I'm a Mexican. I do know that if I'm standing in front of 1,000 or 100 Black people when we go do that presentation in the Midwest or whatever, as straight as a face as I can, don't worry, I identify as Black. I'm going to get them going. Everybody calm down. Anyway, so we don't, here we got a question in the Q&A. Hold on. Yeah, absolutely, Pamela. Answer live. Can you please explain what non-assumptive accomplishes when utilized on documents? So I want you to think about something. Here's the irony about the Department of State. They allow you to put this in your signature area. You can handwrite it out. You can type it out. We've had some rebuts about it being on the signature area. We've had them try to change the thing on the signature area, but thank God in the oath of office, they say if you're going to make any changes to the application, and it says we have all over page 1 of the DS-11, see explanatory statements. And on the explanatory statements, we are putting a full reservation of rights. And the words non-assumptive means he or she did not undertake, meaning no contract. And this is very important to understand. So like and let's talk about signatures for a bit. The word signature is one who can attest to the validity of an instrument. So you have to go and look at what the word signature means, what instrument means, and what are you creating. So the word autograph is a completely different definition. So can you attest to the validity of an instrument, of that instrument? No, you don't know what they're doing on the back end with the DS11. You don't know what all the nuancy stuff is of the statutes and codes for the Department of State in its entirety. You haven't read all the books, and so why is it that, it used to be like a year ago, the Department of State DS11 forms, they didn't have what they have today on the oath of office section. It used to be they would have, some verbiage that you're either a citizen of the United States or non-citizen national of the United States. Now it's a little more catered to us. And I would like to say HISadvocate was a big part of that. And I'm sure it was some law firm out there that got some rich dude, his state citizenship, passed it. But when you apply and you're reading that oath today, it says, I'm either a non-citizen national of the United States or a citizen of the United States. And it kind of, no matter how you look at it, it gives the implied ability right there in the oath of office. And if you're not one of these, kind of a thing, please submit an explanatory statement. And that's not what it says, but it's an implied thing. Go read the oath of office online with the DS11. So it's very interesting. So what we've been doing all along is we do a full reservation of rights. We put the word by in front of our name, because we're not the registered organization. So you always are the representative party, preferably the beneficiary, not the trustee. And so when you get your mind wrapped through what I just said, and you add the words non-assumptive to the signature area on the DS11 form, there's no contract. Okay. And sometimes I literally will handwrite, like if I'm doing, like if somebody wants me to sign a contract, they never look at what I'm doing. They never look at my ID. They never look at anything. They just say, here, sign here. And I just, in cursive, and very clearly, assumptive. And so let's play around with that concept a little bit. That's, if you get called on that being a jurisdictional thing, hey, you are a citizen of the United States or a national of the United States. And what people don't understand, and I want to explain that in just a minute, what a national of the United States is, because it needs to be understood. But that word non-assumptive allows you to go back and say, no, I did a full reservation of rights and I did not undertake that agreement on that oath. That's why it says non-assumptive right there. They have no contract. And by a mere fact in law, by an operation in law, they have to look for something else to gain jurisdiction over you, and because they can't use that, and it's right there in their own Black's law. And so anything that I'm applying to federal or state governments, non-assumptive, all rights reserved without prejudice. Sometimes I write non-person, non-U.S. citizen, if I can get away with, and it's right there on the explanatory statements. We write this big old long line of, reserving all rights reserved, non-prejudice or without prejudice, non-assumptive, non-person, non-U.S. citizen, state of the union citizen, whatever. We write this big old long thing, and they have to accept it. Why? Because it's our explanatory statement. They can't tell us what to put on our explanatory statement. But now they're playing games with the explanatory statements. Now they're withholding about 50% of the explanatory statements, not allowing for people to get them certified. But we're working around those types of things, and we're I would like to say smarter than them, because we understand the very things that they have in their own law books that they're going against. And we hold them accountable with that kind of stuff. And we're using FOIAs, we're using a lot of different things to bring forth accountability with the Department of State. But they're taking their sweet time on a lot of different respects for very few people. Some people get them right away. Some people, like we have wives that haven't got a passport in 6, 7, 8, 9 months. And we got a husband who gets same application, same process, gets their passport right away. So there's no rhyme or reason. There's no standard operating procedure that they know how to deal with this. They just kind of put it on a back burner and hope you go away and don't say anything. And that's when FOIAs start kicking in and we start holding them accountable. But great question. So I'm going to answer the next question because there are people out there that are hearing over and over this terminology, American national. And I've already addressed this multiple times, and those videos take off like wildfire. I'm addressing this because apparently it's not enough. Some of these gurus are still writing in responses that the word national was there long before in the Articles of Confederation, this, that. Listen to me. Let's get real. You're being baited and you're being trapped. Okay. There is no such thing in law as an American national. Okay. There's the word national, 8 U.S.C. 1101-821. There's national of the United States, 8 U.S.C. 1101-822. Both of them are jurisdiction within the United States corporation. Go to Cornell Law, look up 8 U.S.C. 1101-821. National, a person, you're not a person, that owes allegiance to the United States. Click on, or excuse me, that owes allegiance to a state. A person that owes allegiance to a state. Click on the word state. Open it up. Here's what's there. Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, District of Columbia, everything but the 50 several states of the Union. Here's the point. The United States created this in their law, statute, and code, so people would think that is synonymous with state of the Union citizenship. And so by registering to be a national or a national of the United States on your passport, you are saying I am property of the District of Columbia, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Look, there's no defense for you in the Supreme Court. None. I have 100 Supreme Court cases that talk about state of the Union citizenship. None of that is the synonymous or the same or similar or close to national. None of that. State of the Union citizenship is what an American is, as a private American on the land, born here and without contract to the U.S. corporation. So it's very important that these people out there that are teaching these things stop. And let me say something to you. Even Epic Times came out with an article in October about American National, and I about came unglued. I was so happy and elated that they were at least trying to express an experience for people, a new experience or new understanding of citizenship on the land. And I went into correction mode with them. Very politely got on the blog, wrote their emails, wrote their editors, wrote this, said, I'll be more than happy to give the Supreme Court ruling showing you where you are inaccurate and what you should be promoting and pushing as Epic Times, one of the people's newspapers, right? I even have a friend who knows the top news reporter at Epic Times who said, it wants to schedule up an interview with me and they're not responding because I can correct the record legally and lawfully. And unfortunately, this newspaper, who's supposedly for the people, pushed out that same narrative, American National. And there's nothing in law to support it. Listen to me. There's nothing in law to support it except the United States Corporation's law. You get it? So when you make allegiance to anything that they created, whether you think it's synonymous with State of the Union citizenship or not, it's not synonymous. Just go to Cornell Law's website and look it up for yourself. A person, you're not, that owes allegiance to a state. State, the word California is not in there. Arizona is not in there. 50 several states of the Union is not in there. It's everything that's the property of the United States Corporation. They created a like entity that sounds really good, that makes people think that's me, and they make allegiance to that. And that's why they only put that on the passport application. But now they have to say, and if you're something else, go ahead and write an explanatory statement. And it doesn't say that, but yes, go read the oath of office and you'll see what we're saying about our ability to come in and write an explanatory statement. Now, look, when we do passport apps, we don't say American national. We don't say national. We don't say national of the United States. And we for sure say we're not citizens of the United States. We say we're citizens of California. We were born on California. We say we're citizens of the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America. Lowercase u, put an asterisk next to the U. Down on the bottom, we define it with a Supreme Court ruling showing 50 several states of the Union. We are not the United States citizen. We are not the office holder. We are not the employee. We are the living man, living woman with a full right to access free travel, protected by the Fourth Amendment, protected by the Constitution. The Constitution is for them, to restrain them. It's not for us, okay? Our rights come from God. They're unalienable. Constitution is to restrain them. So there's Fourth Amendment to restrain them and bind them. That's what we do. We bind them to allow for us to travel freely. What are you doing? Why are you stopping us from getting a passport, kind of a thing? And boom, passport gets issued. We listen, thousands of them, thousands and thousands and thousands of them now. 10 years doing this, no, 11 years doing this, actually 12 years doing this, 11 years as his advocates, A+ rating, no complaints filed with the Better Business Bureau. We know what we're doing. Okay, I'm not on a seminar tour trying to get people excited about the fact of my meeting of, important people and talking about things that aren't true and getting hundreds of thousands of views and hundreds of thousands of hits. Why is that? Why do I have 1,500? Why does my YouTube channel get shut off, but not theirs? Okay. I want you to just think, you can't tell the truth anymore and not have some reasonable amount of pushback, just like they're creating this entire accountability system within the medical reform regarding the things that we're all worried about. It's the same thing, and look, they control both sides. They control both sides, but this isn't any side. This is coming under old law, that we have hundreds of shepherdized Supreme Court rulings allowing us to do this. And when you become self-governed, when you walk away from those corporate ties, when you quit the position of the office holder of the person, you stop using that social, you stop using that. It doesn't mean you can't receive the benefits of what you put into the social. And there's a way that we do that in the application process and how we receive the benefits. But I don't recommend credit. Why? Because it's the continued use of the social, which proves you're continuing to hold an office. For 6,000 years or whatever you believe biblically, we never had to have a need for a social, okay? We never had to have a need for a marriage license. We never had to have a need for a driver's license. Yeah, I get it. Automobiles didn't exist until this century, okay? But if you understood what an automobile was versus a motor vehicle, if you understood what a live born record was versus a birth certificate, if you understood what a man was versus an artificial person, or what a church is versus a corporation, and it's all these self-executing ways to lose your freedoms under every entity out there. They've created all these public franchises, DMV, voters, SSA, IRS, and you're going in and you're holding all these different offices. I'm a taxpayer. That's what it says on your oath of, on the 1040s you're filing with the IRS, right on your W4s you're filing, right on your W9s. I am a taxpayer. I am a U.S. citizen. Okay. Identity. One, two or more things operating as one. That's the Black's Law definition. You and the birth certificate creating the identity, the driver's license, creating the identity, the passport. Okay. So that's what the word identification comes from. It's two or more things operating as one. Two or more things operating as one. Why am I saying this over and over? I want you to understand the straw man. It's real. It's called the registered organization. It absolutely exists. It is the citizen. Rundle versus Delaware says that they, as a corporation, can't do business with us as living men. They can only create statutes and codes for a registered organization that you continually to say, I want that job. I want to be a taxpayer. I want to be a U.S. citizen. I want to hold the office. And you hold that office by using all the functions that they give you within it. And that's what we do. We pull you out in every single way. We deal with every one of those adhesion contracts, and we're the best at it. We're the best. We actually have the best fulfillment systems. We have, we give you a support ticket. We give you an 800 number. We give you a Q&A. This is our Q&A we do every other Monday. There's no reason why you can't get a question answered. And so this is why we want to address people. We have members that are going through our Living in the Private program with blogs that on our website, on hisadvocates.org, where they're blogging about their experiences with his advocates on going through the Living in the Private process. Boom. Love it. Love it. Total accountability. That's who we are. Total accountability. So there is a state citizen. You can be one. And you don't have to be a U.S. citizen, and you for sure don't want to be one. You for sure don't want to be a national or American national of the United States. And don't think you can change those words to be your definitions when you are declaring something that they created. That's it. Was that good?
Yes, you do have another question in the queue, though.
I know, Tracy. Thank you. You may refer to me as straight white male, please.
Yes, America's #1 enemy. Okay.
No. Are you that sold out? Really? America's #1 enemy? Really?
Yep. I'm brainwashed just like everybody else.
You were brainwashed that a straight white male that you work for is America's #1 enemy.
Yeah, you know that's what my family
This
thinks.
is good. Hold on.
Brainwashed by some white man. You know they think that.
That's true, but I'm worried about your opinion.
You already know what I think.
Yeah, I already know what you think.
So yeah.
That's ridiculous. Straight white male. That's me. Actually, wait a minute. I don't know the actual definitions of the true equivalent of what those words should be said as, like heterosexual tan man. I prefer that. Thank you. Here we go. Next question. Slightly tan. What if you have a DS-11 in progress with an explanatory statement attached before the process with his advocates? No, I'm just kidding. And they sent a letter that they can't give a passport at this time because of taxes. The copper still method was used. Yeah, it doesn't work really well. And it has a regular passport of more than 25 years now. Does this impair getting a passport through your process? His advocate. So, Pamela, I'm not going to say that there isn't issues with a person getting a passport where they have taxes. We're doing some experiments where we are doing the IRS well, first and foremost, excuse me, sometimes people get passports still through our process with IRS taxes, even filed in the county recorder. Sometimes, I'm going to guess probably 50% of the time, and sometimes they don't. But we're experimenting right now where we do they'd have to be in the Living in the Private program. We would do the SSA and the IRS sets of docs, and then we would take that as exhibits within the passport application and submit that saying that the account is under the all caps, and that is not me. And what we do is we basically show them on a new explanatory statement that you would still be eligible as a state citizen due to the fact that those statutes and codes don't apply to a state of the union citizen. Now, we have not, I think we've done 2 or 1. I don't know, Rob can hit me up on wire, but we're still waiting, and there's going back and forth, but at least it's not a straight up denial. But this is a very important thing, in my opinion, because if you do the IRS docs first and you do the SSA docs, there really is no reason why they can't and shouldn't give you a passport as a State of the Union citizen. It's normally what we do is the passport, we do the removal of the office of the person, create the foundation, help you with the accounts, getting everything established, do the DMV, IRS, SSA, voters, and then all of that stuff. So, and the point being is it's very important for you, if you have an issue of a lien filed, the next thing that we're working on is a properly affected lien. And this is something that we really need to get across, because a lien filed in a county recorded by an IRS agent is not a properly affected lien. So going to the Secretary of State's office and getting a certified copy of a no lien, you have them search your name and you get a certified copy from the Secretary of State of no lien. And I have some docs that we could do where you preempt the passport process, where you go straight towards the IRS agent. And you can basically send them, hey, a proof that you're not employed by the United States. You do an affidavit that I'm never been an employee of the United States. And there's literally a statute within the IRS code that you must be an employee of the United States for them to lien on anything. Okay. And then we also show proof of the no lien with the Secretary of State. So there is remedy. We don't have very many of them, so we're not putting all of our time in this. But I've gotten liens pulled off bank accounts. I've gotten liens pulled off of homes. I've got liens. I just haven't done it necessarily in this point because not very many people have an issue in getting a passport process done. So we could help you with getting maybe like if you're living in a private program, going after the agent first who filed the lien and getting them to remove the lien based on the fact that you're not an employee of the United States. And that's a very powerful tool because it's within their own code. What does the obligation of a State of the Union citizen have with the Selective Service Agency? How does that lawfully manage for a child that was issued a Social Security on birth and then turns 18 years of age? So, Matthew, everything is by registration. They can't force you to do anything. You get out of prison, you're a sex offender, to stay free, they force you to register on a sex offenders list. I don't speak about that from experience. It's just, think about it. They force you to register for armed services, selective services. They force you to drive with a license. They force you on all elements, but it's all choice. You don't have to do selective services. As to be specific for your child, simply do a new passport, State of the Union citizen. Any of the statutes, codes, and ordinances of the United States don't apply to a State of the Union citizen. I'm not saying, because there's two things. There's damage, there's harm, there's Title 18 actions that are specifically to somebody harming another individual, which is not only a biblical issue, but it falls under a different category of Title 18. Versus statutes, codes, and ordinances that only apply to State of the Union citizens. Or excuse me, that only apply to U.S. citizens. So if it were me, I'm not going to register my child, and it's really up to the child. When they turn 18, they're of a legal age. They're no longer a minor. And so they can make that decision on their own. What I would do, if it were me, I would make them a state citizen with the passport process. I'd deal with the Social Security number. And that's done on the cheap. Matthew, there's maybe $1,000 you can get all those docs, and we would help you get the passport, the Social Security done, and all that. And then the selective services, you never say no, I'm not willing to do this. What you do is you write a letter, registered mail, and you do it from an accountability standpoint, where you do an affidavit first, and you bring in a series of questions second. And the affidavit is basically a declaration of status of state citizenship. You show proof of the passport application. You show proof of the removal of the SSA from the Social Security Administration. And you send that with a letter. You always want to rebut the presumption agree and with a counterclaim. You're like, I would be more than happy to register upon proof of claim that this applies to a state of the union citizen. Meaning you're not saying no, you're not registering. You're actually saying, look, here's me. I'm here. I'm sending it registered mail, which is the most private and perfect way to prove you did send it. And you do it with a notary and a notary presentment, preferably. But this way, the element of the person, your child, and here's a whole nother thing, Matthew, but the element of the child needing to register would be upon proof of claim, because you never said no. You're not operating in dishonor. And this is the biggest thing that people don't know in court. People don't know when they're operating with these agencies. You never operate in dishonor. You agree upon everything upon proof of claim. And so, yeah, I would love to apply for service with the greatest nation on earth. What is the definition of the United States? What is the jurisdiction of the United States? And, you just compile a FOIA with them, and upon proof of claim of this, and then you do a FOIA request, and boom, next thing you know, you're left alone. They may never give you a get out of jail free card. They may never give you any of that stuff, but you're left alone. And again, I wouldn't register with anything. And if I was going to register because of a fear, I'd use a signature non-assumption. I'd put the name in all caps. I'd put the word by in front of the signature, and then the actual signature would be the name non-assumption underneath. But understand, it could be drafted, and understand they have no rights. Once they do get drafted and they go into the military, they have little or no rights. They have all of their God-given unalienable rights, but once you get in the military, you start getting shots, you start getting examined, you start signing off your life. So I would never sign anything with the military, non-assumption, no selective services. I just do it upon proof of claim. Make sure that you're protected, make sure you've documented everything. And then once I need to do a notice of fault with an opportunity to cure, then you do a certificate of default and you never heard back from selective services. That's your contract. You fulfilled it without ever agreeing and never saying no. That's operating in honor, and that's the best way to do it. And you've completed a new agreement by doing that. We don't have that question very often, if at all, but it is something that we should be considering to create for people, for their kids. So I would agree that if you need some support or help and you're living in the private member, we'll work on helping you and getting something established to get you going. Nothing in respect has been created like that yet, but it's not that difficult. Next question. Next question. I don't have taxes that are owed, so don't know why they're stating at this time have dismissal for lack of jurisdiction from the tax commissioner from 3 years ago. That's a weird one. Why don't we jump on that privately and spend 10 or 15 minutes? I just need to wrap my mind around what they have at the county recorder that reflects that. What is it at the county recorder that is stating with your name owes taxes? That's go to the Secretary of State, get a certificate of no liens filed, go to the county recorder, find out what's there. Let me see the letter that was refused by the Department of State, and let's start working on it on all angles. Did Todd get his question answered? No, he didn't. I'll answer it. Who is the audience of our statement of faith, and why is it notarized? Todd, it doesn't need to be notarized. It can be dual witnessed. And our back office and myself is your audience, and that's it. Oh, Rob already answered you. Sorry, Rob. All right. Tracy, you got any some male Caucasian jokes? I'm down. I want to hear 'em.
No, I don't.
No,
No, I don't have any white male Caucasian jokes.
that was redundant. White male Caucasian jokes.
Well, you know how they say the Caucasians came to be. They came from they say, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Noah's three sons, and Japheth was the one that went up into the Caucasus Mountains, and the air was thin, so their noses got really long and thin, like white people's noses, because they didn't have to breathe that much oxygen, and it
oh,
was cooler up there. So,
they
so
got, they
you
got,
stop,
they got thinner.
having, yeah, they got thinner, but you stop having melanin created in your body because you didn't really need it because it was cold. And you guys were up in the Caucasus Mountains, so that's why you're called Caucasian. So that's
Where were
how
you? Where were you?
I Shem. We're the
Huh?
line of Shem.
Shem.
Shem, yes. Noah's son
Not
Shem,
not
not
the
Ham.
Levites, not the from the line of the tribe of Judah.
All the Levites and all of them are from the lineage of Shem,
Okay.
not Ham, because Nimrod was from Ham.
Hey, I don't know all that stuff. I'm a
It's basic. It's like basic patriarch
basic.
in the Bible.
So
Yeah.
generic, Kelby. You should know that. No, I don't need to know that. I got you. Hey,
Okay.
that's a story. Honestly, it's like Ford's family, not comparing myself to Ford, but Ford's family tried to show that he was a nincompoop and didn't have the knowledge or wherewithal to run the company. And he said, why? I can pick up a phone and call anybody and tell them what I need to have done and they'll do it. And he ended up reclaiming, rights. But that's very interesting that, you know, I mean,
So
Tracy,
Matthew gave a joke. Matthew.
I know it's on white male Caucasians can't jump. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Can't
That's true,
jump, can't
man. That's
ball.
true. That's true. I got a vertical jump of like maybe 3 inches, 4. I bet you it's more than that. I'm making fun, but I bet you I got a really, Matthew, I break concrete when I run. I can't run, as seriously, boom, boom, I'm breaking concrete. And I make that joke. I want to be able to get active again. And so I'm changing a lot of things about my life right now to get active again and lose some weight and have fun and enjoy life and be, right, Rob? Robin's a Hispanic vegan. Rob, are you a vegan or vegetarian? I'm waiting on other people to ask questions. That's why we're just making jokes right now. Rob? No, you can't. Yeah, he's not typing. Vegetarian only. So you eat cheese and do you eat fish, Rob? Any fish? Oh, that would be a pescatarian, right? No meat at all. What a loser. Just kidding. Just kidding, Rob. Dude, I know all of our lives would be a lot better. Except, Rob, you're still eating processed food, so stop acting like holier than thou. You're not all that in a bag of chips, buddy. You haven't been sick in 3 years. Whatever. That's because you haven't left your desk. That's what's going on. You don't get out there much. Well, and that's not true. You got grandbabies, so you'd be all around that. All right, we're going to close this thing out. I appreciate everybody jumping on. That's because of you. No, it's because of you, buddy. You got an opportunity and you're devoted, and it's you. That's nobody else. You got to accept full responsibility. We appreciate you joining us. We do these Q&As every other Monday. We do a live show starting again in March called HISadvocates.tv on Tuesdays. VIP members get a town hall meeting and a VIP show every other week. And we're trying to do tidbits like kind of like this and getting them posted to YouTube so people have information and they can make a very good decision for themselves. And so we post everything. We're really open. I've created a video called Who Are You that shows a lot of shepherdized Supreme Court rulings in it. It's kind of it's 5 hours and there's a lot of stuff you can skip, but if you go to the legal, the lawful part, you'll understand why we're able to do what we do. And what I mean by shepherdized is they still exist in the law today. Again, you're not going to find American national of the United States, American state national, state, national, all these crazy terms and terminology. It's not, it's called state of the union citizen. And citizen is okay. If it's defined properly, it's okay. People think, oh, I don't want to be a citizen. You do. Essentially, as a state of the union citizen, you're a child of God. I'm not saying it has anything to do with salvation. So for all you churchies that want to hold me in all the church legalese and all, that's not what I'm saying. We are a Christian nation, whether you believe it or not, or we're a nation of believers. How's that? We're a nation of believers that God is sovereign and we are self-governed. That means you are direct under God. And you're saying you believe in a God, whether you like that or not. That's just a fact in law. And so we help anybody. Doesn't mean you need to be a Christian to get our help or our support, but you would be making allegiance to God, whether you liked it or not. It's a beautiful thing. So God bless you guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you not next Monday, but a week from Monday on a Q&A. Hold all those difficult questions for me. I love them. Today we had a lot of good questions, and hopefully I was able to answer them to your liking. God bless.